Hello everyone, this is Abitha, ID number 7. You are assigned with the topic demand. Now let us see the definition of demand. Demand normally means the desire or willingness for a good. But in economics, simple desire or willingness for a good alone may not represent demand. Apart from the desire or willingness, consumers should be able to buy the goods. Thus, desire and ability to buy are the two key components of demand. Therefore, demand is willingness of consumer to buy and ability to buy. According to Bowden, propensity of consumers to buy different quantities of goods at different unit prices. There are three types of demand: price demand, income demand, and cross demand. Price demand. It refers to various quantities of goods or services that a consumer willing to buy at all possible price at a given time in a given market. Here, consumers' income, his taste, and price of interrelated goods remain unchanged. The second one is income demand. It refers to various quantities of goods and service which could be purchased by the consumers at various levels of income. Here also, the price of interrelated goods and taste and preference and desires of consumers do not change. And the third one is cross demand. It refers to the various quantities of goods or services that a consumer willing to purchase not due to changes in price of this commodity but due to changes in price of related commodities. Of these three types of demand, price demand is the most commonly spoken one. Demand schedule. Demand schedule shows the quantities of commodity demanded by a consumer at different prices at a certain time. Market schedule. A market schedule, on the other hand, shows the demand of the market for a commodity at different prices at a certain time. This table clearly distinguishes individual demand schedule and market demand schedule. If the price decreases, demand for the commodity increases. Law of demand. Law of demand explains the functional relationship between quantity demanded of a commodity and its unit price. That is, rise in price of commodity or service is followed by the reduction in commodity, and the fall in price is followed by extension in demand with other conditions remaining same. Demand varies inversely with price. Giffen paradox. It was first discovered by Sir Robert Giffen. That is, when price of given or inferior goods falls, the demand for such good also falls. And when price rises, demand also rises. It is in contrary to law of demand.
Hello everyone, I am Abinaya. ID number 5. I am going to explain the demand curve. So what is demand curve? Demand curve simply shows how the quantity purchased varies with variation in prices. It happens because of two factors. Demand curve comes from upward to downward and from left to right because the forces behind the demand curve is utility. As we consume more and more of commodity, the utility goes on falling. That is the reason the demand curve slopes downward from left to right. Another reason why demand curve slopes downward from left is that with the fall in the price of a commodity, people who do not use it before will start demanding it and using it. The old consumers will be tempted to buy more because of the fall in price. Hence, demand will increase. So, as the price falls, more is purchased and vice versa. The demand curve is also known as average revenue curve because the price paid by consumer is revenue per unit for the seller. Next, we can see why the demand curve slopes downward. Generally, the demand curve slopes downward. This is accordance with the law of diminishing marginal utility. When the price falls, new purchases enter the market and old purchasers will probably purchase more. So there are three reasons why people will buy more when the price falls. He is able to and willing to buy more because the thing being cheaper, his real income increases. This is called income effect. The second reason is substitution effect. When the commodity becomes cheaper, it tends to be substituted wholly or partly for other commodities. And third one is a commodity tends to put to more uses or less urgent uses when it becomes cheaper. Next, we can see about exceptional demand curve. Normally, the demand curve slopes downward, but in exceptional demand curve, the demand curve rises upward instead of sloping down. That is, people will buy more when prices rises. So this happened due to three factors. When shortage is feared, people get more at higher prices. And second one is sometimes people buy more at higher prices in sheer ignorance. And third one is the wealthy people buy more when price rises. Now let us see about extension of demand and contraction of demand. Whenever demand changes on account of changes in price, it is called extension and contraction in demand. They are caused by changes in price. The extension of demand curve and contraction of demand curve is the movement on the same demand curve dd dash. A downward movement indicating a fall in price and the expansion of demand, and an upward movement indicating rise in price and contraction of demand. Contraction of demand. Let us assume that the price increases from OPT to OP1 and the quantity demanded reduces from OQ2 to OQ1. This behavior is referred to as contraction of demand. Extension of demand. In this case, the price decreases from OP2 to OP3. Due to this, quantity demanded increases from OQ2 to OQ3. This is nothing but the extension of demand. In the extension and contraction of demand, we take into account ceteris paribus assumption. This graph explains about increase in demand and decrease in demand. When the change in demand is owing to change in other factors like income, fashion, population, etc., we call it rise and fall in demand or increase and decrease in demand. Increase in demand is a complete shift of demand curve to the right, and decrease in demand is of demand curve is left, that is D1 D1, whereas the price remains same at OP. In this case, other factor influences the demand curve. We take in other factors, that is size of family, increase or decrease in income, change in fashion and style, the government policies, etc. In this graph, DD is the original demand curve, D1 D1 is the decrease in demand curve, D2 D2 is the increase in demand curve, and OP is original price and OQ is original quantity. OP is original price and OQ1 is increase in demand and OQ2 is decrease in demand. Next, let us see the factors affecting demand or the causes of changes in demand. These are the factors that affect demand: changes in real income, change in level and distribution of income, change in composition and size of population, changes in price of the commodity, conditions of trade, price of related goods, changes in money supply. There are several other factors, that is changes in taste, preference and fashion, changes in weather, climate, etc. The substitutes and complements are also the other factors that affect demand. That is, substitutes are when a decline in price of one good results in the decline in the demand for another, they are substitute. For example, tea and coffee. Increase in the consumption of one will lead to the decrease in demand for the other. Complements. Two goods are complements if the price of one and the demand for other are inversely related. Increased demand for one will augment that for other. Example, horse and carriage. If the price of carriage will fall, the demand for horses rises. So these are the factors that are affecting demand. Thank you.